Here on the Cam Rodgers Show, I am now ranking the top 10 quarterbacks entering the 2018 NFL season. So let's do it. Number 10 on my list. Marcus, you'll like this one. Jimmy Garoppolo. And not a big sample size, but I still feel he's a top 10 quarterback entering this year. And maybe this is an indictment on the lack of depth at this position in the entire league, or maybe it's just the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo is more promising than any other player. I don't know, but this man is going to be a successful quarterback in the NFL. I feel it. All right, took the 49ers to a 5-0 record a year ago, ranked 10th among all quarterbacks, by the way, according to Pro Football Focus a year ago. Totally transformed that 49ers team last year from hopeless to hopeful in a matter of 5 games. And obviously the 49ers know the importance of Jimmy Garoppolo here because they signed him to that big fat contract, 5 years, $137 million there. And now the 49ers have an upgraded offense too. They got Jerick McKinnon at running back, who I think could perhaps surpass 1,000 yards rushing. He'll definitely get more than 1,000 yards from scrimmage. You got a healthy Pierre Garçon, who missed the final 8 games last year due to a neck injury. Dante Pettis, who they got via the draft, who I think could be really an electric player. You got Weston Richburg there at center, which I think is a low-key, really important signing for San Francisco. Daniel Kilgore just wasn't the guy, I don't think. And Richburg, when healthy, can be one of the better centers in the NFL. Of course, he dealt with his fair share of injuries a year ago, but he's got top 5 center potential if he is healthy. And you got a couple of young tight ends, George Kittle, Garrett Selleck. So all the pieces are there for Jimmy Garoppolo to be successful with the San Francisco 49ers. I understand the sample size is small for Jimmy G, right? Just a total of 7 games starting experience, 2-0 in his career with the Patriots, 5-0, as I mentioned, with the 49ers. But let me say this. When I go through these rankings here, this is what I'm thinking about in my mind. All right, as an NFL head coach, I need one final drive to win a game. And these are my top 10 quarterbacks that I feel can get that done. So that means Derek Carr isn't on this list. Kirk Cousins is not on this list, despite $84 million in guaranteed money. Jimmy Garoppolo is, because I feel he is top 10 in that category to be clutch in that final drive to win me a football game. So Jimmy Garoppolo is there at number 10. Let's go to number 9 on my list here. Phillip Rivers, quarterback of the Chargers there. Consistently one of the most efficient passers in the NFL. Of course, most notably known for that unconventional throwing motion, and he just makes it work, and it works really well. He needs to figure out a way to energize this team at the beginning of seasons, though. The Chargers started 0-4 last year and steadily climbed their way out of it, but they got to get off to a better start this year. There's no excuse for them to start sluggishly yet again. They got a good team. Phillip Rivers ranked 8th among all quarterbacks, according to Pro Football Focus a year ago. Hasn't received much help in the ground game and on the offensive line. You know, from a collective standpoint, the last 5 years, Melvin Gordon has certainly aided things in the last couple of years. And the offensive line is getting better, of course. They added center Mike Pouncey, veteran player, perhaps provided some continuity there at the center position, something the Chargers have been longing for quite some time. They got a couple of young guards as well in Feeney and Forrest Lamp. Lamp, a 2017 second-rounder. Feeney was a third-rounder last year as well. So the offensive line is getting there. Phillip Rivers is in a position here where he could make a run with the Chargers. And John Elway actually recently said that the Chargers could be the team to beat in the AFC West. And I think the AFC West is wide open, folks. Phillip Rivers is at number 9 here in my rankings there. And Keenan Allen, by the way, I do want to mention him, still a premier receiver. We'll see what Mike Williams can do. He played in 10 games last year, but only had 11 receptions. So Rivers has that ability to carry a team when it matters most. I do want to see him go into the playoffs next year, though, and see him create some damage there, because it's been quite some time, as you see on your screen, has made the playoffs just once since 2010, so that needs to change. All right, let's go to number 8 here in my quarterback rankings entering 2018. Mr. Dramatic himself, Ben Roethlisberger. You know, he can throw 5 interceptions in any given game, but he's still top 10 in my eyes. Maybe this is an indictment of the quality of play in the NFL, like I mentioned here with Jimmy Garoppolo. So Roethlisberger, all things considered, had a solid 2017. He actually finished 4th among qualified quarterbacks, according to Pro Football Focus. He's the ultimate ad-libber. We know what he can do on the move and shaking off tacklers. But he also has the luxury of the best RB to wide receiver duo in the NFL. Talking about Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell. So that helps him out a lot in the process of being an effective quarterback. The defense is going through changes, especially at linebacker. You got TJ Watt, Bud Dupree, John Bostic are decent but not great. We'll see if Joe Hayden can continue his resurgence from 2017. But overall, 2-time Super Bowl champion. This season may have to come down to Roethlisberger more than any other season. In that sense, a lot of pressure on him, and I feel like he's going to have to carry this team a lot next year because of the changes, I guess, at linebacker on that defensive side there for Pittsburgh. And I don't know if that secondary is going to shape up really well either. So could be a lot of shootouts for the Steelers next year. Ben Roethlisberger is at number 8 in my quarterback rankings entering 2018. All right, let's go to number 7 here on my list, and it is Mr. Andrew Luck. And this, assuming this shoulder surgery here isn't as bad as it seems, Andrew Luck, I feel, is still a top-line quarterback in the NFL. He's super clutch and has had 0 pass protection or a semblance of a consistent run game for most of his career, which really amazes me when you look at some of his numbers for the past few years, obviously not counting 2017 when he missed the entire year. But he has the potential still to be an elite quarterback, and perhaps he's close to do so. You got the offensive line here for Indianapolis, which may be the best in the Andrew Luck era, with Anthony Costanzo at left tackle. They re-signed Jack Mewhort. Hopefully he is healthy. Ryan Kelly is coming back from injury. You got Quentin Nelson, of course, that first-round draft pick, who I think has 0 weaknesses and could be perhaps a Pro Bowl player, multiple Pro Bowl player in the NFL there. So offensive line is shaking out well for Luck, so that's check there. The shoulder injury, we'll see, should be good to go for training camp. He hasn't played a full 16-game season since 2014, so durability has been an issue for Andrew Luck in the last couple of years. But when he did play in 2014 for that full season, he threw for 40 touchdowns with a 96.5 quarterback rating. Pretty darn good there. So one of the more intelligent quarterbacks in the NFL, great leader, great mentality as well. Really positive guy. Even after a fumble or interception, he gets back up, he's clapping, he's getting back to the sideline there. So Luck is at number 7 on my list, and I could see him rise up if he performs well throughout the regular season in 2018, and there are no ill effects from the injuries of the past. All right, let's go to number 6 on my list, the top 10 quarterbacks entering 2018. Matt Ryan, here he is, one of the more consistent players in the league, an MVP in his own right. Last year was a bit of a drop-off. I blame offensive coordinator Steve Sarkisian for that. Like, the Falcons had the same cast of characters on offense from 2016 to 2017, but Sarkisian could not produce what Kyle Shanahan did. So, you know, in experiments, you look at variables. What was the variable that changed here? The offensive coordinator. Now, Matt Ryan, like I said, has never missed a game. He's an Iron Man. He's a fantastic player, and if he can get back to that 2016 form, the Falcons have a very real shot to capture the NFC South, as well as get a top 2 seed in the NFL. I've talked about how balanced this Falcons roster is. They went on the road and beat the #1 scoring offense during the playoffs in the LA Rams. Valiant performance against the Philadelphia Eagles, right? Last year in the playoffs as well. So he does sometimes make that boneheaded throw, Matt Ryan, and maybe that's because he's in the Joe Flacco draft class, because Flacco makes the same boneheaded throws as well. So all things aside in regards to that, Matt Ryan is still a top 6 quarterback entering 2018. All right, so let's summarize my rankings so far. Ryan's at 6. I got Andrew Luck at number 7. There's Ben at 8. Phillip Rivers at 9. And there you go, Niner Empire. Jimmy Garoppolo checks in at number 10. And let's go to number 5 on my list here. And this guy just continues to perform despite zero pass protection. Russell Wilson. So it's just not fair for this poor guy. For someone who is constantly on the run, Russell Wilson is a fantastic quarterback. And the offensive line has done him no favors here, nor has the run game. You look at Christine Michael, Thomas Rawls, remember Fred Jackson, Mike Davis? Wilson is a fantastic leader. I think he's got a really beautiful deep ball. He's got that rainbow throw that is really nice to watch. He's got it down fantastically. Here's the problem. We'll never see Russell Wilson again at his utmost potential with that offensive line. And I'm looking at you, Justin Britt, and DJ Fluker, and Jermaine Ifedi. They all have been bad of late. And if they don't step up their play, Russell Wilson will continue to be hindered throughout the process of playing in the NFL. And it's a shame for that. And the Seahawks leadership has done Russell no favors in addressing the offensive line. And they did, albeit briefly, in the NFL draft in 2018. But just the questionable picks at the beginning of that draft with Rashad Penny there, it just didn't make much sense. And so there you go. Russell Wilson is with a little asterisk there because I think he has the ceiling of a top 3 quarterback in the NFL, but the offensive line has been holding him back of late. So the fact that he hasn't thrown more than 11 interceptions is astounding considering the lack of protection there in the last few years. So Russell Wilson's at number 5 on my list. Let's go to number 4, and he perhaps would have won the MVP trophy if it weren't for an ACL injury. It's Carson Wentz, quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles, had an incredible 2017 with 33 touchdowns in 13 games. And Wentz has just 16 touchdowns in 16 games in 2016. A lot of 16s there. And a big-time development jump from that year to 2017. And Wentz really did a fantastic job with offensive coordinator Frank Reich and quarterback coach John DeFilippo at the time. Now, the sad news is Frank Reich is now the head coach of the Colts, and John DeFilippo is now the offensive coordinator of the Minnesota Vikings. So both those guys are gone. So from a continuity standpoint, may not be the best news in the world for Carson Wentz, and we may not see him during the preseason, folks. So we might have to wait until week 1 of 2018 to actually see real reps, football reps from Carson Wentz. And he's going through the rehab process, and he's confident that he's going through the motions in an effective manner, and he feels that he'll be healthy and ready to go there for week 1. He has said that he doesn't need to play in the preseason, which I think is a little crazy, Carson. You may want to get some reps in the preseason before you head right into the regular season. But the Eagles will get left tackle Jason Peters back, which I think is ultra important there, protecting the blind side there. And Wentz also has Jay Ajayi at his disposal. So I think he's in for yet another great season. Whether or not he will win the MVP is up for debate. So hit me up in the comments section here on Facebook Live. Will Carson Wentz win the MVP? If not, who will? Let me know. And I'll be tracking what you guys say. I see Sherry chiming in. You got Jonathan in the comments section as well. Jose, big fan of Garoppolo. Got him at number 10 there, Niner Empire. So there you go. Carson Wentz checks in at number 4. Let's go to number 3 here. Drew Brees, premier leader. He is the face of New Orleans, and he's a top 3 quarterback in my eyes. The last time we saw him, he made a big-time 17-point comeback in Minnesota. All for naught, unfortunately. But just 8 interceptions in 2017, and as that run game continues to perform, I think so will Drew Brees. Because the more Mark Ingram, at least, for the latter portion of the season, not the first 4 because he got suspended, but Alvin Kamara continue to carry the brunt of the offense here, Drew Brees will be fresher and fresher as he goes throughout the season. He won't be called upon to throw the football 50 to 55 times anymore. He's not getting any younger. We know that. And so the more his arm stays fresh, the better off the Saints will be heading into the playoffs because they'll make the playoffs. It's just a matter of, will Drew Brees be good to go and not be wearing down by that point? And because of that run game, I don't think he will be. I firmly believe he'll capture another Super Bowl. or at the very least, appear in another Super Bowl. But I believe he is in a position to make a big-time run. This is the Saints Super Bowl window right now. And they'll get to a couple Super Bowls, I think, before the time Drew Brees retires and perhaps capture yet another ring. All right, so Drew Brees is there at number 3. Let's go to number 2 on my list. Sherry can already guess the final 2, and I'm sure many of you can here. So Aaron Rodgers, he's at number 2 on my list. Fantastic overall player. You saw last year how bad the Packers need Aaron Rodgers in the starting rotation there. And without him, the Packers just weren't very good a year ago. Brett Hundley was not an effective quarterback. Rodgers hasn't had a double-digit interception season since 2010. In his last full season, he had 40 touchdowns and just 7 picks. In every full season, Rodgers has at least 10 wins in his career. So he has led the NFL in passer rating twice in his career as well. Aaron Rodgers is a top-line quarterback in the NFL, and I don't think there's anybody better than him in terms of on the run, especially to his right. We've seen it so many times before. Aaron Rodgers firing the football on those Hail Mary plays. He's a top 2 quarterback entering 2018. Finally, the top quarterback as we enter the 2018 season, perhaps the greatest quarterback of all time, Thomas Brady, quarterback of the New England Patriots, 5-time Super Bowl champion, perennial Pro Bowler, number 1 quarterback last year, according to Pro Football Focus, and by the way, it wasn't even close. Has received an elite grade from PFF 4 of the last 6 years. Perhaps the best pre-snap reader in the NFL. A rapid release as well. When you watch the Patriots on Sunday Night Football, one thing they always do is they trace the speed of the quarterback's release. And many times, Tom Brady clocks out as one of the fastest. And that's why the Patriots love that horizontal passing game, because Brady is so accurate, so fast with the way in which he releases that football. With the game on the line, one final drive, I am picking Tom Brady out of any quarterback in the NFL right now. And that is the crux of my rankings. Not necessarily a clutch rating, but it is, I want a winner on my team. And Tom Brady is number 1 on my list there. So let's summarize real quick, if we can here, the full-on rankings for the 2018 NFL season at the quarterback position. Matt Ryan at 6, Andrew Luck at 7, Ben Roethlisberger there at number 8, Phillip Rivers at 9. There you go, Niners fans. Jimmy Garoppolo is a top 10 quarterback in my eyes. 1 through 5 we go. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Carson Wentz, and Russell Wilson.